Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm actually going to show you how to knit a border around your mitered squares. I actually woke up this morning to a comment on my tutorial asking if I could show how to do that because the viewer is actually making a lap blanket where she's knit, I guess, individual mitered squares, and she's got groups of 4 that she's sewn together. So she's got 4 mitered squares, and she wants to make borders around each group of 4. So I got to work this morning knitting up this little square so that I could share with you guys how I would do that. I'm just using some cotton yarn with number 9 US 9 needles. And let me show you what I would do. So to get started, as you know, this is the end where you started your mitered square and you cast on along these edges. And then you knit back and forth, decreasing in the center. So this ends up being your top. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start at the top. And if you knit your mitered squares the way I've taught in my tutorials, you always slip the first stitch and knit the last stitch through the back loop on each row, and that creates this nice edge that makes it easy to pick up stitches. You're going to go underneath both legs of each V when you pick up. So I'm going to show you how I do that. And this is going to be similar to the log cabin blanket. I don't know if you guys have seen the log cabin blanket, where you pick up stitches and then you knit back and forth for whatever width you want your border to be, and then you're going to cast off. And then you're going to turn it a quarter to the right. And you're going to have your border here, and you're going to excuse me, you're going to pick up stitches from the corner of that border and pick up stitches all the way along this edge, knit back and forth for the same width. We're going to turn it again. You'll have your newly created border on this side. You're going to pick up stitches from where it ended, and you're going to continue that way until you get to this side, and I will show you guys how I do that. All right, we're going to see how far we can get with this because I'm working with limited daylight. It is a very cloudy day today, but the way I'm going to start this is I'm going to look at this edge, and we're going to pick up on this first edge. It's going to be the hardest one to pick up because you can see the V here, but you know your top corner is going to be hard to see. But I'm going to just go through like right here, and I'm going to take my new yarn and I'm going to pull it through. So that's your first pickup stitch. Now the rest of them are going to be easier because you're going to go through under both legs of the V, wrap it, and pull it through. You're going to look for your next V, go under both strands, wrap, and pull through. Go under both strands, wrap and pull through. That's how I pick up on this edge. When we get to this edge, it's going to be a little different because you can see this was my cast on edge. And it doesn't have distinct V's, but we're going to go by these little bumps here to pick up stitches. So I'm going to continue picking up along this edge. And we're only going to do one side at a time, but when I get to the end, I'll be back. All right, I'm almost to the end. I'm going to go ahead and pick up these last 2 edge stitches. And our last V is right here. I do it a little, I have to maneuver it sometimes to get it. There we go. All right, so we've got all the stitches picked up along one side, and this is the side that we're going to do first. You'll want to determine how wide you want your border to be. So you're going to knit back and forth until it's the size you want your border, until it's the width that you want your border. So I'm going to turn the work, and I like bringing the yarn to the front, and I'm still going to slip this first stitch, and then I'm going to bring the yarn back to the back side again. That'll just make it easier to pick up when we get to that side. And we're going to go ahead and knit across. Just knit all the way across. You'll just want each of your sides to have the same amount of rows. So you can keep track of that by counting your ridges. Once we get to the end of this row and turn, you'll see that it has created a ridge on the other side. Whoops. We got our end in there somehow. That was the cast on, or yeah, where we added the yarn. It got pulled in there somehow. I'm going to go ahead and knit this last stitch through the back loop. I like doing that on like everything that I knit practically. I like slipping the first stitch and knitting the last stitch through the back loop. All right, so I've turned my work, and as you can see, we now have a ridge on this side. We're going to do it again. We're going to slip the first stitch, bring it to the back, knit across, and when I get to the end, I'm going to turn and knit back across on the wrong side. And once I've done that, I will be right back. All right, so I've gone back and forth again, and now you see we've got 2 ridges, which means we've done 4 rows. So that's a real easy way to keep track of where you are. For the sake of this tutorial, I think I'm only going to do one more ridge, so I'm going to knit back and forth one more time. So once again, we're going to take the yarn to the front. I'll do this row with you guys. We're going to slip the first stitch, bring the yarn back between the needles to the back, and knit across. And let me know if you guys have any other stitches or techniques that you'd like to learn, because I'm open to any suggestions you guys might have. I think I mentioned in my previous video I was going to do a tutorial on how to get started on knitting an asymmetrical shawl. So look forward to that. I'm going to get that up this week, this coming week. This is Saturday. I believe today's the 25th. Today is Saturday, January 25th. So once we get to the last stitch, we're going to knit it through the back loop. And then we're going to turn. Whoops. I'm sorry for the clanging noises every time my needle hits the table. And this is what it looks like on the back side. It's really nice and neat. So once again, bring the yarn forward so that you can slip that first stitch. Then bring the yarn back between the needles to the back and knit across. But yeah, so this coming week, I plan to get up a tutorial on how to knit an asymmetrical shawl, at least how to get one started. And I may do a demonstration, or I guess you'd call it a comparison, on the difference between a square knot and a magic knot. That idea came up in my comments as well, because I had someone asking if I thought the magic knot was stronger or better than the square knot. So I'm going to do a comparison on those knots. So hopefully I'll have those videos up next week. Okay, here's that last stitch. We're going to knit it through the back loop. All right, now, clang, clang. So now you see how we've got 3 ridges. So what we want to do now, if that is the width that you want your border to be, you're going to go ahead and cast off that row. All right, so we don't want to do any special cast off. We just want to do a normal cast off. I'm still going to slip the first stitch. That counts as your first stitch. Bring the needle to the back. Knit the next stitch. And then hop that first stitch over the stitch you just knit. And there's your first cast off stitch. Knit the next one. I'm assuming you guys already know how to cast off if you're here to learn how to knit a border, but I'm going to go ahead and show you a few more times how I do my cast off. Right, so we knit the next stitch, hop the first stitch over the previously knit one, knit the next one, hop that stitch over, and you see how it's going to create V's again. So you're going to have a nice edge on your border. I'm going to go ahead and finish casting off to the end, and I will be right back. Okay, we've come to the last stitch. I'm going to go ahead and knit it through the back loop. And then I'm going to hop this stitch over. And now leave that stitch on your needle, okay? Now you see you've got one side that you've got a border on. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the work, and we are going to pick up stitches all the way across. Now if you've done a log cabin blanket before, this will probably seem familiar, but that's what we're going to do. I will show you guys how we do it, and you'll also see why I told you to slip the last stitch on your row, because it gives us this nice V. So we're going to keep that stitch on here. We're going to go ahead and go under this stitch, under both legs, pull up a stitch. We're going to be knitting these two together on the next row, and that keeps it nice and firm on the corners. But I'll explain that to you better when we get to the other side. Right now we're going to pick up another And then we're going to pick up another. That's the 3 stitches that we've picked up on the edge of your border that you just created. Now we're going to go ahead and pick up stitches on this side. And as I mentioned before, this was your cast on edge. So we're going to actually go by these little bumps in the front. Now if you look at it this way, you're going to see that that first bump is right here. So we're going to come in through that bump and through the stitch that's next to it. There's another stitch just behind it, which creates a V. I hope this makes sense, guys. So go ahead and pick that one up. And then you're going to go through the next bump and the stitch behind it. See, if I turn it, you can see there's another stitch behind it, or another strand. Sometimes I'm not good with words, guys, but hopefully the visuals will help. You see the next bump, turn it, and as you turn it, you'll see your needle come through right here where there's 2 strands on top. Okay, we're going to do it again. We're going to come through that little hole there and turn it towards you, and you'll see the other strand behind. Grab it, pull it through. And this is what we're going to do all the way to the end. I apologize for the clanking again, guys. Let me see if I can hold this needle while I do that. So there's the little bump, turn, go through both, there's the bump, turn towards you, go through both, okay. Sometimes you have to take a look at it like this, go back and take a look. There's the bump. Turn towards you, go through both. Okay, and it gets quicker as you do it. It just feels, it'll start feeling more natural, and you don't even really have to look for that bump. You can just kind of slide it right in. Okay, I'm going to let go of this needle. I apologize in advance if it starts clanking, guys. We're getting close to the edge here, close to the end. So I need to focus. Okay. Yep, there goes the clanking. I apologize. Sometimes I just grab the yarn with my index and my middle finger on my other hand and help it through if I have to. The bump. Yep. Especially when it gets close to the end like this, it helps to kind of pull it. And don't worry about tugging on your yarn. Yarn can be manipulated in so many ways. Like this, just pull on it and get that stitch to come through. There we have it. So now we have picked up stitches on this side. And I know I see a gap right there, but I'm not going to worry about that. I think it's just going to come together when we knit across. If it bothers you, you guys can pick up another stitch right there. But for the sake of this tutorial, we are just going to keep going. And we're going to do this exactly the same as we did on the first edge, on the first side. We're going to slip the first stitch, bring the yarn to the back, knit all the way across. I'll meet you guys when I get back to the other, to the end. All right, we're almost to the end, and do you remember what I said about knitting these last two stitches together? That is what we're going to do. So we're going to knit this one, and then we're going to knit both of these together through the back loop. Okay, let me show you what I did. So you see what that does? That strand that you had, that extra loop that we had on the end, it just pulls it all together nicely and makes a straight edge when you knit it together with that first picked up stitch. So there is your first ridge, which means we've knit across and back one time, which is 2 rows. So we're going to do that until we have 3 ridges, which means we have to knit across and back 2 more times. I really hope I'm making sense, guys. Sometimes I feel like I'm giving too much information, so I hope that doesn't make it seem confusing. Let me know down in the comments if this is easy to understand or if you have any questions. Hopefully it's easy to understand. I actually used to teach knitting classes. There was a store called Beverly's when I lived in California, when I lived in San Jose, California. And I used to actually teach knitting classes there. So we're going to knit this last one through the back loop. Okay, we're going to turn. Whoops, oh my goodness. Guys, I should have used straight needles so that I wouldn't have all these clanging noises, right? But to be honest, I don't even know where my straight needles are right now. I moved here last year and I haven't found my straight needles yet, but I use my circulars for almost everything anyway. Okay, slip the first stitch and knit across. But yeah, I really use my circular needles for like almost everything now, so I haven't even needed my straight needles. Although they probably would have been much quieter, especially for these tutorials. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. As I said, it's Saturday. And I've been taking it pretty easy today, except for doing this tutorial and getting this little mitered square knit up, just because it is a gloomy day. It's a very gloomy day today. Okay, we're at the last stitch. We're going to knit it through the back loop. We're going to turn. And now you see we've got 2 ridges. So we need 1 more ridge, and that means we're going to knit across and back 1 more time. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll come back to bind off that side. Okay, so I just finished knitting across and back, so now we've got 3 ridges, just like we have on this side. And we're ready to bind off this side. So once again, I'm going to take the yarn to the front, slip that first stitch, bring it to the back, knit the next stitch, and then you bind off by hopping that first stitch over the second one and continue across like that. Knit the next stitch, hop it over that one. We're racing against time, guys, because it is so gloomy today and it gets dark early. So I just want to hopefully get this done before it gets dark, and then I'm going to get this edited and hopefully get it up tonight. But yeah, hopefully this helps somebody. And like I said, if you guys have any questions or want to know any other stitches or techniques, just let me know and I'm happy to do a tutorial on it. I'm hoping that as I do tutorials for different people, it'll help others in the process. And I also have a vlog, or I guess you'd call it a podcast. I don't know. I've been calling it a podcast vlog. I'm only on, I've only done 25 episodes so far, but if you guys would like to take a sneak peek at that, to see what I've been knitting, what I'm up to like on a daily basis. Sometimes I just share my morning coffee. I share my puppy, my dog. I share my plant babies. Sometimes I share the books I'm reading. But yeah, episode 26 will be up soon. Let me know what you guys have been knitting or what you guys have been up to. We're almost to the end. We'll be ready to start on the third side. And it's going to be just the same as we did the first time, where we're going to leave the last stitch on the needle. Okay, we're going to knit the last one through the back loop. Okay, and then we're going to leave that one on the needle. Once it's blocked, it'll look much nicer. Whoops, that just fell out. I was going to just show you what it's looking like. All right, we are going to turn it again. So we've done this side, and then we've done this side. So like I said, don't let it fall out like I did. Leave your needle in the last loop, and you start picking up at that very first V. Since I've got 3 ridges, I've got 3 V's. So we're going to go in under that V, pick up that stitch. Let me get the end of this that's just dangling there. Oh my goodness. Oh, I apologize, guys. I kind of decided to do this tutorial spontaneously today, so I wasn't quite prepared, but I hope you don't mind. Okay, pick that one up. And the third V. And now we're on the third side, which was also a cast on edge, so you've also got those same bumps again. We're getting lots of practice in picking up from a cast on edge, aren't we? So we're going to go through like this. That first one is always the hardest. Gonna have to hang on to it like this and pull it through. And we are ready for the next bump. And the next one. Go a little quicker this time, but as you can see, we're still going through 2 strands. When you go in under the bump, you'll see the 2 strands on top of your needle. This might not have been the best yarn to use for this tutorial, but I thought, hey, if I'm going to make a little square, I wanted to use cotton yarn so that I could use it as a coaster. So this is actually going to be a coaster for my coffee cup or my tea or whatever. Okay, getting to that end where it gets a little tougher to see what you're doing and where you need to be a little rougher with your yarn. Just stretch it to get it through there. And then I think we've got just one more, yep, one more spot we can pick up. There we go. And you can see it's starting to come along and how it's going to have a border on it, a nice border. So then you're going to turn the work and continue. Let me go ahead and do this first row for you because on the back side, because I don't want you to forget that when you get to the end, you're going to knit those 2 together. But this row is the one that creates your first ridge. So after you slip that first stitch and bring the yarn to the back, you're going to knit all the way across to the last 2 stitches. The silence. Sometimes I really like knitting in silence. The world seems so noisy these days, doesn't it? All right, we're to the last 2 stitches, so we're going to knit those 2 through the back loop, together through the back loop. And you've got your first ridge. So we're going to continue and knit back and forth, back and forth. So twice more, and you'll have 3 ridges. And I will be back when we get done with that. All right, I've got that finished. I've gone back and forth 3 times, which is 6 rows altogether, which creates 3 ridges. Now we're ready to bind off this side. So once again, bring our yarn to the front, slip that first stitch, and knit across. And you can use this technique to create borders on anything, really. As long as you've got a circular needle, if it's a bigger piece. I mean, I could have used a straight needle on this, but if you've got a bigger piece, you just want to make sure you have a circular needle that's long enough to accommodate all the edges, like each side. Like say you want to put a border like this on a huge blanket, you might need to have like a 47-inch circular needle just so that you can get all the stitches onto that needle. Sorry about that, guys, if it got blurry for a second because I was not looking at the camera and I was looking at my stitches. I've been trying to look at what I'm doing through the camera, but that's been a little difficult at times. All right, we're at the last stitch, so we're gonna guys, I just knit all of these instead of binding off. Whoopsie. I'm gonna frog back. You guys get a bonus on how to unknit. If you've knit something and you want to knit backwards, I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. Bonus. You take your needle and you go through that loop underneath your last stitch and pull the needle out. Guys, I'm sorry we're losing daylight. Let me see if I can turn the camera a little bit, get a better angle here. We're gonna chase the light. I don't know if that's any better, guys, but okay, here we go. We're gonna unknit that last row because we were supposed to be binding off. So we're gonna take our needle and go through the stitch below and slide the needle out. Go through the stitch below, slide the needle out. And it's going to put all these stitches back on my left needle. See that stitch below? We're going to go through there. That's what I get for talking and knitting at the same time. Yeah. You guys were probably watching saying, that's not binding off. Yeah. Let's just unknit. Whoops. Unknit what we did. That's so funny, guys. I was in a hurry, so that's probably why it happened as well. Okay, we're almost done unknitting what we did. We're gonna stop after this one because then we can start binding off. There we go. All right, now we can bind off what we did. Let me tap on the screen. There we go. Let's see if it'll try to focus on my hands better. Whew. The struggle is real sometimes, guys. The struggle is real. So we're going to bind off this time all the way across. This video is turning out to be a little bit of a hot mess, but that's okay because I'm just going to keep it real, guys. Sometimes we all make mistakes, and sometimes all you can do is laugh about it, right? I could have edited that out, but I think I'm just going to leave it in because we're all human, aren't we? Yep. All right, I'm just about to the end. I'm really hoping. Oh wow, it's already 4:05, guys. It'll be dark here soon, so I need to hurry. I'm in the Las Vegas Valley if you're new here. So yeah, this is rare for us to not have any sunshine. I'm gonna give you guys a peek out my window really quick here, so you can see the cloudy sky. Once we get this side bound off, we're at the last stitch, so we're gonna knit it through the back loop, bind it off, leave that stitch on the needle. We're down to the last side, guys. Ooh, we're almost done. Let me show you what it looks like outside really quick here. Look at that gray sky. gray skies. I'll show you my outside my kitchen window. Yeah, it's very gray. There's some of my plant babies. So if you guys want to see more about my succulents, feel free to follow because I share them in my vlogs. All right, enough about that and back to the task at hand. I get distracted sometimes, but I just thought I'd share. And like I said, when you guys block your blocks, when you block your squares, they'll even out. These little spots that look kind of wonky, they'll look better. But we are to the last side. So once again, we're going to leave that stitch on the needle. We're going to pick up the 3 V's. There's 1, 2. Oh, okay. Sorry about that again, guys. 3. And you have 4 stitches because you left that first one on the needle. But then we're going to come across, and now it's going to be easy on this row because this was one of the sides that you knit while you were making your mitered square. So if you had knit your last stitch through the back loop and slipped your first stitches while you were making it, you'll have nice V's to work with. So we're going to start with the first one, which is always the hardest to find, but there it is. And my phone, let me tap the screen, guys. Hopefully it'll stay focused. And we're going to go ahead and pick up all the way along this edge under the V's. Oh, guys, sorry. Oh, I'm probably going to be editing the video and thinking, wow, that's just going to sound so annoying if it's clanking, if that needle's hanging there and clanking all the time. Oh my goodness. Oops. That one didn't want to catch. Okay, we're almost there. And when we get to the end, you are going to be picking up stitches along the edge of that first border that you did. See, right here. And like I said, the amount of ridges that you have on each border side is going to depend on how wide you want your border to be. You can make it thicker, you can make it thinner. It's all up to you. All right, so I think we're there. No, I think I'm going to pick up one more stitch because otherwise that would be a pretty big gap to come over here and grab that one. So it looks like we need to get one right here. Just going to come in, create a stitch here. There, that is much better. Brings it right up to the corner. And then you're going to come over and pick up the 3 edge stitches on that first border side that you did. There we go, guys. Isn't that amazing? All right, so now we're going to go back and forth. Slip the first one, knit across, I feel like this video is going to be pretty long, so hope you guys are bearing with me here. I'm going to focus this time. We're going to get to the end, and we're going to knit those 2 stitches together. Okay, there's those 2 stitches. We're going to knit them together through the back loop. And wow, look at this, guys. We're on our final edge, and we've got our first ridge going. I'm going to knit back and forth twice more so that we'll have 3 ridges, and I'll be right back with the cast off. All right, guys, we are ready to cast off on the last side. So once again, take your yarn to the front, slip that first stitch, and this time I am going to actually cast off and not knit all the way across like I did last time. We cast off that first stitch, and the next stitch, and the next stitch. Oh. Let me know if you guys have done anything silly like that before, where you're supposed to be knitting, or where you're supposed to be casting off and you end up knitting instead. Hopefully it hasn't happened on like something huge, like the edge of a shawl or something. I guess if it happened on the edge of a shawl, I would just leave it and cast off on the next side. I keep tugging at it because it bugs me when it's not straight. But like I said, after you block it, everything will just kind of work itself out. We're almost done, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. And as I mentioned before, let me know if there's anything else you'd like to learn. I'll be happy to teach you. And feel free to go watch my podcasts, my vlogs. I did a Vlogtober videos in October, and I've got other tutorials up as well. I just did a tutorial last week on how to create a magic knot ball with the magic knot. Okay, we're at the last stitch, so we're going to knit it through the back loop. And we are done, guys. And I don't have my scissors in here. I was just not prepared for this, was I? So what I would do is just cut the yarn and then pull it through. And there we have it. We have a border on a mitered square, and you could do this on any number of mitered squares. As I mentioned in the beginning of my video, I was doing this tutorial for someone that asked how you would knit a border around mitered squares, and she's got 4 mitered squares that she's already sewn together. So she would just you know, do it in the same manner around all four. You could do this around a whole blanket if you wanted to. But thanks for watching, guys. I really hope this helped. Until next time, have a great week and happy knitting. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.